Okay, so coming back to the topic. So in the previous class, we have talked about rods and cones, receptors. We also talked about retina, right? Now, once we have learned about the layers of the retina, we have learned about the components which are present in the rods and cones. So today we'll talk about the signal transduction mechanisms. And at the outset, I had mentioned that vision in that sense is very unique or special because most other places of the body, almost all places of the body, presence of a stimulus is associated with depolarization of the receptor. So this is an exception to that, where presence of a stimulus is associated with hyperpolarization. So this makes it very unique, right? And how does it happen? So look at the diagram over here, right? So light energy gets converted to electrical signals here, right? And the entire mechanisms have happened with the visual cycle. I'll get to this visual cycle in a bit, but let us see the RMP of this cell. So resting membrane potential of this cell, it is minus 40 millivolts. Now in the outer and inner segments, if you see, the outer segment has got some sodium channels which are gated by cyclic GMP. So cyclic GMP is necessary for keeping the channels in an open state. If cyclic GMP channels concentrations or levels reduce, the channels will close. Now these channels are usually open during darkness and sodium keeps on coming inside. This is called as dark sodium current. So this is one different type of sodium current. एक और ऐसा था which was you learnt in CVS, funny current in pacemaker potential, where hyperpolarization activated sodium channels. So that was also different from the usual behavior of sodium channels. This is also somewhat different because it is associated with absence of the stimulus. When light is absent, these channels are open. Okay. Here in the inner segment, what do you find? Like all other places of the body, we have a sodium-potassium pump which maintains low sodium inside and inside the cell, right? Also we have leaky potassium channels जो कि बाकी जगहों पे भी है. So leaky potassium channels will make sure that some potassium efflux keeps on continuing at a steady rate. Now because of this, the RMP is minus 40 millivolt, like all other places of the body. Now if it is a minus potential, so there is always a tendency of positive ions or positive charges to come inside. Now here these channels are open because cyclic GMP keeps them in an open state and sodium current keeps on coming. So once sodium current keeps on coming, what happens? Inside the cell, now positive ions, the concentration of the positive ions increase, depolarization develops, and this increases voltage, the opening of voltage gated calcium channels over here. This is similar to what we learned in synapses. This is similar to what we learned in neuromuscular junction. So depolarization, which is happening because of the sodium current, opens this calcium channels, voltage gated calcium channels, which permits calcium ions from outside to come inside the receptor now. And this leads to exocytosis of neurotransmitter, which in this place is glutamate. So remember, all of this is happening in darkness. So darkness mein we see that there is a mechanism by which a steady state of glutamate release is maintained. So retina ke class we have learned that photoreceptors in turn are synaptically bound with bipolar cells, the next cell in series. So this glutamate will act on the bipolar cells and the things will continue. So what we see is darkness mein signal transduction keeps on happening, right? यहाँ पे glutamate ज़्यादा हो रहा है and bipolar cells will be acted upon this glutamate. Whenever there is light, there is closure of these channels and there is a reduction in the glutamate release, right? So this is what makes it unique. Okay, now two processes that happen in the proteins before I come to the cycle. So these two processes you should know is one is rhodopsin bleaching and rhodopsin regeneration. So bleaching happens in the presence of light when the rhodopsin molecule gets boosted from a low energy to a high energy configuration, similar to what happens in electrons. You have read about that Rutherford model of electron, right? Atomic. So electrons, maybe there is a low and high energy state. It's similar to that. So electrons in the retinal are activated to normal states where, that is during darkness, retinal is present in the cis isomer form. But once this is activated, the cis gets converted to trans form. All trans isomer cannot fit into the scaffolding, and this is what causes this molecule to break up. Right? So this process is bleaching. Darkness may they again combine together and it is regenerated. Now let's see the cyclical series of events. So what happens is, you can see there is a series of intermediates before frank dissociation between the aldehyde and protein takes place. So these intermediates start from, you can see, nanoseconds where this reaction happens. Beta-rhodopsin followed by lumirhodopsin, metadrhodopsin 1 and metadrhodopsin 2. So these 4 intermediates are there. Ultimately, within seconds, so this whole process happens in seconds. It breaks down to scotopsin and all-trans retinal. All-trans retinal converts to all-trans retinol. Right? It is an interconvertible form, which is the store of vitamin A. Now, pigment epithelium, right, also has the presence of isomerase enzyme. So, isomerase enzyme converts them to the cis form, right? And in darkness again, cis form and the scotopsin, that is the protein, combine together and form the original rhodopsin molecule. Now, this is called as the visual cycle. Now, how is it associated with sodium current? Let us see the next picture here. So, this is the original rhodopsin molecule. So, light is acting over here. अगर आप बहुत ध्यान से देखो, this is also connected with the G protein, right? So, GDP, it is connected to that. So, there is something related to G protein signal transduction mechanism. Now, this is what you see in purple color is the aldehyde molecule. So, जैसे photons are getting absorbed, the aldehyde becomes a transform, now cis to transform, followed by this gradually becomes incompatible. The shape of the trans isomer becomes incompatible, and eventually it breaks up. You can see it comes out, right? Now, what happens as this dissociation happens now? It activates the G protein bound to the receptor. The G protein here in turn activates this enzyme phosphodiesterase E. Now, phosphodiesterase E is an enzyme which breaks cyclic GMP to 5' GMP. So, cyclic GMP levels are reduced now. This is the catch, right? G proteins on activation activates the enzyme phosphodiesterase E, PDE. So, this normally breaks down cyclic GMP. So, cyclic GMP levels fall all in the presence of light. So, sodium current, now here it is reduced now because cyclic GMP was keeping this channel open. So, this is how in the presence of photons or light, cyclic GMP levels reduce and the dark current or the sodium current is reduced. If the sodium currents reduce, तो receptor में depolarization कम होगा, so calcium channels will open less, glutamate will be released less. So what we see is light indicates its presence by reducing the release of neurotransmitter. Right? Okay, now once this, so this is all in the outer segment of the photoreceptor, remember. So this is the metadrhodopsin 2 molecule, this is the aldehyde part which moves to the pigment epithelium layer now. Now in the pigment epithelium, what happens? The transform which comes from rhodopsin bleaching, right? This can be acted upon by isomerase enzymes, right? As I said, pigment epithelium isomerase enzymes are present. It can directly convert the retinal to 11-cis retinal, right? The molecule for the rhodopsin. Pigment epithelium, say, it can also get access to the blood capillaries of the choroid because choroidal capillaries, choroid layer is adjacent to the layer of pigment epithelium. So physically they are adjacent. So this aldehyde, the transform, can be transported to the blood capillaries of the choroid or the uveal tissue, and through the bloodstream it can reach the liver, right? And liver may also, you've learned about this in biochemistry also, Liver also has stores of vitamin A, and in times of necessity, this can be pulled up from the liver. The stores can be pulled up by the same pathway. Blood say it will reach the choroidal capillaries. From the choroid, it will diffuse to the pigment epithelium, where it is needed for the formation of 11th is retinal. Retinals ultimately it will combine with scotopsin to form rhodopsin. So what happens when vitamin A levels are reduced? So answer is here. So what happens? So this levels of, so you can see कि vitamin A का जो form है, this is required in the process of rhodopsin regeneration. दोबारा bleached rhodopsin को दोबारा से बनाना, regeneration of rhodopsin. Now in deficiencies of vitamin A, regeneration process will be affected, which means that there will be less rhodopsin available for bleaching in the long term. तो ये signal transduction जो mechanism है, what we did just now, this whole process can happen, but it will happen at a higher threshold, right? Sensitivity will be less. So this is what is called as night blindness. For night blindness actually means what? All of these things can happen when there is the stimulus is present in abundance. The visual threshold increases when vitamin A levels are less. So cis form again, this comes from the pigment epithelium. It combines with the protein forming rhodopsin again. So you might be asked about the role of vitamin A. So you focus on rhodopsin regeneration and the phenomena that in absence of adequate stores of rhodopsin, the threshold of vision or threshold of this signal transduction mechanism will rise. So this is what we label as night blindness or nyctalopia. Okay. Now this is what have been summary of the entire thing. So light is associated with hyperpolarization of the photoreceptor and consequently release in the glutamate release. So यहाँ पे presence of stimulus is taking the potential from minus 40 millivolt to minus 70 millivolt. So I'm emphasizing this point again. This is very different from other parts of the body. Photoreceptors indicate the presence of light by decreasing their neurotransmitter output. So this you should not forget. So what is the role? As I said, role of vitamin A is maintaining that adequate stores of the aldehyde which can be pulled up in times of necessity for combining and forming rhodopsin again. Now this picture shows you the other manifestations of vitamin A deficiency. So here you find that epithelial layers of the eye are affected. So night blindness is a functional manifestation. Signal transduction mechanism effect हो रहा है. It is a functional manifestation. But vitamin A is also important for maintaining the epithelial surfaces of the body, not only the eyes, throughout the body. So these are the manifestations when it is severe. It can start with the appearance of bite out spots, spots like this, corneal dryness or xerosis, right? And eventually in severe cases it can lead to scarring in the cornea, followed by a deep corneal ulceration leading to some liquefaction processes. We call this keratomalacia. So vitamin A deficiency में ये चीज़ें भी आएंगी. If you are asked effects of vitamin A deficiency on vision, night blindness, and then the effects on the epithelial layers. So eye का जो epithelial layer that is the cornea. Now visual adaptation क्या है? So visual adaptation is the process by which we are able to see both in dim illumination and bright illumination. The way the eye adjusts to this is called as visual adaptation. Does it happen whenever you are outside, right, on a bright sunny day, and then once you suddenly enter in a dark room where there are no lights, but there are some objects? What happens initially? This is a common experience. Initially, we are not able to see anything, right? There are glares and all of those things. It happens with all of us. But once we stay there for say 1 or 2 minutes, or say half a minute for example, then we gradually start seeing the objects around us, right? So even in dim illumination, if you give time, you can still see the objects around us. So this process is called as dark adaptation, adjustment to dim illumination. Now opposite is light adaptation. So if you are in a dimly lit environment and then you go out to the sun where the environment is brightly illuminated, what happens again? We are again unable to see things very clearly. But if you give some time, we start seeing the things. So this is called as light adaptation. तो ये common experience है. Now there are some mechanisms behind this which make it possible. First and the most important mechanism is auto-regulation of retinal sensitivity. That is the layers or the levels of rhodopsin being maintained by the process of bleaching and by the process of regeneration. So whenever we are outside, there is too much light in the environment. So rhodopsin continuously gets bleached, right? So it gets bleached so much that when we enter a dark environment or a dimly lit environment, because rhodopsin stores are very inadequate, so initially हमें कुछ दिखाई नहीं देता है, right? That is because almost the entire amount of rhodopsin gets depleted or bleached. But if you give some time, regeneration being automatic processing, you need not do anything but you give some time, right? You have seen in the cycle and the picture also, you give half a minute to some few minutes, automatically the aldehyde and the protein will combine back and rhodopsin will be regenerated. Once rhodopsin levels are replenished, it can again react to the presence of light or photons. So dark environment mein light is less, but it's not that light is absent, right? But even for that small amount of light, कुछ ना कुछ हमारे पास rhodopsin होना चाहिए so that it can respond and produce a signal. So this is what happens in dark adaptation. The opposite process happens in light adaptation. This is one mechanism. Second mechanism is change in pupillary diameter. So if you go outside, it's a normal response, you observe it next time. Reflexly, our pupils constrict. Right? This is a mechanism to reduce the amount of light entering the eyes. Similarly, when we come from a brightly lit environment to a dark environment, our pupils dilate. So, jitna bhi environmental light hai, the purpose is it should all enter the eyes. So, change in pupillary diameter is a second mechanism for this visual adaptation. And the third one is spatial summation. So, what is spatial summation? Who remembers? Summation दो तरीके के हैं. One is temporal summation and the other one is spatial summation. एक ही point of time में अगर multiple जगहों पे आपने stimulus दिया and it all adds up at the same point of time, this is called as spatial summation. Now whenever you are allowing more light to enter, आपने pupils dilate किया तो more light is entering the eyes, so it will activate receptors over a large part of the retina. Right? And dim illumination में हमने पिछले क्लास में देखा था कि the receptor which is responsible for signaling is rods. Rods में normally there is lot of convergence circuit में 1:200 से 1:60. This is the amount of convergence that is there. Is 60 to 200 rods ultimately converge on one ganglion cell. Right? If there is for an example, 200 अगर rods है, there might be around say 100 bipolar cells. 100 bipolar cells, they all might be converging on one ganglion cell. This type of convergence allows lot of simultaneous stimuli to act together. So summation possible हो रहा है इधर, right? So this is what is the third mechanism. तो जितना हम लोग pupils को dilate करेंगे, more light will enter the eyes, activating more number of rods from the different parts of the retina. It will ultimately converge to one ganglion cell. So these are three mechanisms for visual adaptation. So first mechanism is auto-regulation of rhodopsin, bleaching and regeneration. So for bleaching to happen, you need light, photons. But regeneration process is automatic. It is a continuous process. It will keep on happening by itself. Second mechanism is diameter of the pupil. And third mechanism is spatial summation. Right? So next learn about the visual pathway. Okay, so visual pathway, before I start, so this is one of the most important long questions from this topic, from vision, right? Describe the visual pathway and its lesions, which is a very commonly asked question. So field of vision, let us understand what is field of vision. You had one exposure to field of vision in your labs, clinical labs. You did the confrontation method of perimetry. So right now, can you all close your right eye with your palm and focus here. Off का जो O है, focus on this spot. Huh? Close your eyes with the palm, not the fingers, right? Now without moving your gaze आपका इसी पे fixed है. The amount of the external world that you can see without changing the eye position of the eyeball or moving the eyeball. So this is the field of vision of one eye, right? So this is a monoocular field. Using both the eyes, if you fix your gaze again at the same point, both your eyes, and without moving the gaze, that is without moving the eyeball, the amount of the world that you can see is again called as the binocular field of vision. So these are, the important thing here is whenever we are trying to define field of vision, gaze should be fixed. Because it is obvious, अगर आप eyeball को move करो using your recti muscles or oblique muscles, तो automatically your extent will increase, right? जब हम लोग field of vision define कर रहे हैं, fixation of gaze is important. Okay, now gaze fix होने के बाद, generally what you have found out, almost it is not an exact circle, but it seems like a circular field that you can see, but somewhat like this. Right? You have all seen this paper? Yes or no? Some of you, if you have not seen, you will see it this week. You will do this experiment this week, perimetry. Now, this was the point of fixation. Field of vision has been described in the form of concentric circles like this, right? And covering all the quadrants. So, now, right now, whenever you closed your right eye, left eye se aapne dekha pura. So, that would become the field of vision of the left eye. So for each of the eyes, field ko, we can divide it vertically into a nasal half and a temporal half. Right? Medial lateral is referred to as nasal and temporal. This is one. And superior and inferior aspects also. So there are 4 quadrants that, from that point of view. One quadrant is temporal, superior quadrant, nasal quadrant and inferior quadrant. So this is same for both the eyes. Okay. Now 0 degree से 30 degree तक जो the area that we can see is called as the central field of vision. Point of fixation से 30 degrees circumferentially and 30 degrees and beyond it is described as the peripheral field of vision. Now what are these lines and what are these circles called as? What is its importance? Now, the lines are called as meridians, right? And alignment की quadrant में nasal को अगर आपने या temporal को, if you consider that as 0 degrees, the horizontal one, so superiorly you here will have 90 degrees. तो इसके बीच में if you keep a moving object at various positions, these are called as the meridians. Isopters are the concentric circles. So isopters पे in a given isopter, right? Say number 40 degree पे जो isopter है, anywhere in any quadrant, the object might be placed, but they will always subtend same angle at the nodal point of the eye. तो isopter का मतलब है ये. Concentric circle में you might place an object in any of the quadrants, superior, inferior, temporal, nasal. Point of fixation पे they will always subtend the same angle. So experiment में what you are going to do is at each of the meridians you will be moving a white object from the outermost isopter, that is 90 to 100 degrees से धीरे धीरे आप उसको you will be moving it towards the central part. राइट. द ऑब्जेक्टिव इज कि कौन से आइसोप्टर में वो दिखाई दे रहा है. सेम हैज टू बी रिपीटेड फॉर ऑल द मेरिडियंस. So this is the field of vision of the left eye, and what you see is the field is maximum on the temporal aspect, minimum on the nasal and the superior aspects. Why less on the nasal aspect? Because you have the nose, right? नाक बीच में आ जाता है तो दिखाई नहीं देता फिर इसलिए. And superiorly you have the orbit, the supraciliary edge margin of the orbit. That's why again, because of this bony margin, you cannot see the field. So 50 degrees around here, 50 degrees around here. Here it is 100 degrees. Inferiorly it is around 70 degrees. So 50 और 100 के around बीच में, right? Inferiorly it is still less, but more than the nasal and the superior margins. Now there are some terms you have to know, right? These are technical terminology. Blind spot के बारे में talked already. Temporal field में around 15 degrees to the point of fixation we have the blind spot. This corresponds to optic disc of the retina. Last class we have seen that optic disc के बराबर कोई receptors नहीं है. So that's why this is the blind spot. If an object is inadvertently placed in that point, that particular object will not be perceived, right? So there is no vision. So this is a normal thing. Now when multiple such blind spots appear, as happens in the disease glaucoma, initial phases of glaucoma में there are multiple blind spots which appear. These are called as scotomata. Pathological blind spots are called as scotoma. Anopia is the term used for describing complete loss of vision of eye. So anopia, right? Hemianopia means half of the field of vision is hemi means half. तो field of vision का आधा हिस्सा affect हो रहा है. Now hemianopia is described again into two types again further, homonymous and heteronymous. What is that? When the field of vision same half is affected, right? Left eye का भी left half, right eye का भी right half, left half. तो दोनों में left half of the field of vision is affected, both of the left eye and the right eye. So that's why the term homonymous hemianopia. Homonymous hemianopia again, it's further divided into left-sided and right-sided, depending on the half that is affected. अगर दोनों आँखों में right half of the field of vision gets affected, it is called as right-sided homonymous hemianopia. Heteronymous means कि एक eye का right half, the left half of the other eye. So that is heteronymous. Say nasal field of vision of both the eyes are affected. Right eye का भी nasal field of vision, left eye का भी nasal field of vision. Now for the right eye, nasal half is on the left side, right? इसको visualize करो from your perspective. Left eye का जो nasal हिस्सा है वो right half है उसका. तो in this example, this is called as binasal hemianopia. तो binasal hemianopia में for one eye the right half is affected, for the right eye the left half is affected. Similarly we have bitemporal, दोनों eye का this one, right eye का right half, left eye का left half, but they are both the temporal fields for the respective eyes. So because it's different in both the eyes, the word used is heteronymous hemianopia, right? Quadrantopia means when one quadrant of a field of vision is affected. So half का भी half, one quadrant gets affected, we call this quadrantopia. Now keeping these technical terms in mind, we'll move to the structure of the visual pathway. Now from the retina, the visual information goes to multiple areas of the brain. The first and the most important projection is to the visual cortex. तो रेटिना से जो projections visual cortex तक पहुँच रहे हैं, we call this the visual pathway or geniculostriate pathway. Why geniculostriate? Because it relays in the lateral geniculate body and then it goes to the striate cortex. Visual cortex का दूसरा नाम striate cortex. That's why the name geniculostriate pathway. This is the major bulk of the projections. So this is giving us the sense of conscious perception and understanding. The second set of projections goes to the superior colliculus. Superior colliculus में जो projections जा रहे हैं, they are responsible for giving us saccadic eye movements. What are saccadic eye movements? So let's say you are placed in a chair which can rotate. और revolving chair में आपको बिठाया गया है, and in front of you a person is sitting, and then we place a object. We place a flower vase with a red flower. So as you are revolved, what happens? Initially you are looking at the object, right? As you are revolving in that chair, you are trying to keep your gaze fixed, right? So धीरे धीरे eyeball is moving in the opposite direction, right? But some point at around 60 degrees, that is the limit. इसके beyond वो नहीं move कर पाएगा, right? So then what happens? Again the eyeballs jump and start from the opposite end. तो ये जो बीच में this rapid movement that is there, this type of thing is called as the saccade. Similar thing also happens when you're traveling by a bus or a train and you look at the objects outside. You keep on tracking the objects, but track करते करते there is a limit to that process. Once you reach that limit, again your eyeballs jump to the opposite side again, and then this whole process keeps on repeating. These jumping movements that are in between, these are called as saccades, right? So as you can see, these are very fast and conjugate movements. Both the eyes move together in the same direction. So this is controlled by the superior colliculus, which is a structure present in the midbrain. Pretectal nucleus. Pretectal nucleus is responsible for mediating the pupillary light reflexes, right? And hypothalamus में भी कुछ projections जा रहे हैं. Hypothalamus में जो जा रहे हैं, these are responsible for retino-hypothalamic tract, circadian rhythm के लिए important है. तो retina में ganglion cell में there is one set of ganglion cells which have the pigment melanopsin. Now this set of ganglion cells reach the hypothalamus, forming the retino-hypothalamic tract. Now this is a diagrammatic representation of the first one, the visual pathway. So let's see what happens here. So this is the retina, right, that you can see. Retina में left half is, you can see the green color is present, and the right half of both the eyes it is shown by the red color. So from the retina, the ganglion cells are the output cells of the retina. So initially light falls on the receptor, फिर bipolar cell, then ganglion cells. Ganglion cell के जो axons हैं, they organize themselves together in the form of optic nerve. So this here is the optic nerve, right? Right side का है, ये left side का है. So they come posterior-medially here, and they reach the pituitary fossa, right? Where the medial fibers or the nasal fibers, as you can see, they are crossing, right? So this crossing is called as the optic chiasma. So this is happening in the pituitary fossa. So a pituitary gland tumor, right? Apart from having endocrine abnormalities or symptoms, this will also press upon these fibers, and visual field defects will also be there. This is very expected symptom or sign of a pituitary tumor, because this happens just above the pituitary. Crossing के बाद what you see is the nasal fibers cross to the opposite side. So you can see the red ones crossing this side, green ones crossing this side, and this part is now called as the optic tract. So what is present in the optic tract? Uncrossed temporal fibers of the same side and crossed nasal fibers of the opposite side. This is forming the optic tract. Optic tract के बाद it is reaching the thalamus, which nuclei, lateral geniculate body of the thalamus, where these axons are ending, right? From here, a second set of neurons arise, right? They course along the parietal lobe and one small part to the temporal lobe, and finally they reach the occipital lobe on the posterior part of the brain. तो occipital lobe का location आपको पता है पीछे की तरफ है. So occipital lobe में we have one calcarine fissure, right? It is terminating on the lips of the calcarine fissure. right? So this is the visual pathway from the retina till the visual cortex. One very important thing that you should appreciate here is the relation of the visual field and the retina. So because light always travels in a straight line, so the light stimulating the nasal half of the retina, you can see here it is coming from the temporal half of the field of vision and vice versa. जो लाइट रेटिना में टेम्पोरल साइड में मतलब प्रोजेक्ट हो रहा है, दैट इज कमिंग फ्रॉम द मीडियल और द नेजल साइड ऑफ द फील्ड ऑफ विजन. तो रेटिना में एंड फील्ड ऑफ विजन में देयर इज ए इनवर्स रिलेशनशिप बिकॉज लाइट कैन नॉट बेंड एंड रीच, लाइट विल ऑलवेज ट्रेवल इन ए स्ट्रेट लाइन. सो फील्ड ऑफ विजन में जो डिफेक्ट्स आएंगे, सो यू हैव टू अप्लाई दिस लॉ ऑफ रेक्टिलिनियर प्रोपोगेशन ऑफ लाइट टू डिस्क्राइब दिस visual field defect. So we'll discuss some important points of this 4-5 stations that we talked about. तो ganglion cells में दो तरीके के ganglion cells हैं. One is M ganglion cells, magnocellular, which are larger in size, and the other one is small ganglion cells, P cells or parvocellular ganglion cells. And you can see that they are having different functions. ऑब्जेक्ट का मूवमेंट एंड डेप्थ परसेप्शन इज स्कैटर्ड बाय द एम गैंग्लियन सेल्स, एंड जो फाइनर डिटेल्स है लाइक कलर, टेक्सचर, शेप, ऑल ऑफ दिस आर कन्वेड बाय द स्मॉल गैंग्लियन सेल्स, राइट. सो एम पाथवे और पी पाथवे में जो ये डिस्टिंक्शन है, फंक्शनल जो डिस्टिंक्शन है, दैट इज प्रिजर्व्ड रेटिना से लेके विजुअल कॉर्टेक्स तक. इन द एंटायर पाथवे दिस डिस्टिंक्शन इज प्रिजर्व्ड, right? So if say we have a picture, so this is what would be the information conveyed by the magnocellular pathway, right? Outlines, broad outlines, and finer details कि कौन सा color का shape कहाँ पे है, this would be conveyed by the parvocellular pathway. And remember this is happening parallelly. ये दो तरीके हैं processing के of the same visual field. And all of this is happening together. That is a very fascinating aspect. Now, one important thing is, so what is understood by this temporal resolution of vision? What is the principle of motion pictures of cinema? What is the principle behind that? Why does it appear continuous? Is it a continuous thing, or a series of images presented so fast that it is perceived by the brain as being continuous? You read about this in school, right? Because this used to be there in textbooks of physics. Critical flicker fusion frequency कहते हैं. So if it is presented faster than what the brain can perceive as separate, it will be perceived as a continuous thing. So how fast can the brain perceive visual imagery? That is a function of the magnocellular pathway, right? This time resolution is a function of magnocellular pathway. Space resolution, visual acuity is a function of parvocellular pathway. Chiasma I have already talked, tract also I have talked. Now in the lateral, what happens here? So there are 6 layers of the lateral geniculate body, as you can see. Layers number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Now the M pathway from the retina reaches into the layers 1 and 2, right? 1 and 2 से जो neurons arise हो रहे हैं, they again carry the same information and reach the primary visual cortex. तो M pathway और P pathway का distinction is here also, it is maintained. For all the other layers, it is the parvocellular pathway reaching here again. Now layer number 1, 2, 3 and 5, right? 2, 3 and 5, they receive the ipsilateral temporal fibers, right? Optic tract में remember we had both uncrossed temporal fibers of the same side and crossed nasal fibers of the opposite side. So in layer 2, 3 and 5, uncrossed temporal fibers of the same side are ending. Layers number 1, 4 and 6, the crossed nasal fibers are ending. 3, so division is equal. Now within this you find 2, 3 and 5 में 2 is magnocellular information, 3 and 5 is parvocellular. Similarly 1, 4 and 6 में 1 is magnocellular, 4 and 6 is parvocellular. तो ये equal distribution of signaling is maintained here also, even in this differentiation. From the macula, so do you recall which is the macula? Retina में which part is the macula? Posterior pole of the retina, or posterior pole of the eyeball. Central part of the retina is the macula, where the full name of the area is macula lutea, right? And this area has high concentration of cones. Within the macula, there is one depressed area or a pit that is having only cones. This is called as fovea centralis. The central part of macula is fovea centralis. So fibers from the macular area relate to a posterior part of the lateral geniculate body. Now from the lateral geniculate body, next station is the visual cortex. Now for most of the retina, it is straight कि lateral geniculate body से through the parietal lobe वो सीधा visual cortex तक पहुँच रहा है. But for the inferior part of the retina, तो inferior part of the retina से जो axons जा रहे हैं, information जा रहा है, that does not go to straight. That takes a loop around the temporal lobe and then it reaches the visual cortex. The inferior half of the retina receives light from superior part of the visual field. तो टेम्पोरल लोब में अगर लीशन हो रहा है तो विजुअल फील्ड का कौन सा हिस्सा जाएगा? सुपीरियर पार्ट द विजुअल फील्ड विल गो. सो दिस इज कॉल्ड एज द मेयर्स लूप, राइट? दिस इज अगेन a very small subset, but it's a distinct thing which is present. For most, it goes straight to the parietal lobe. Inferior half of the retina से जो आ रहा है, that does not go to parietal, that takes a loop around the temporal lobe and then it goes to the visual cortex पीछे. This particular is bundle is called as Meyers's loop. Now visual cortex, which are the areas? This is the calcarine fissure, right? Visual cortex is present in the lips of the calcarine fissure. The primary visual cortex का area है area number 17, right? And around this, the other areas is the secondary visual cortex area number 18 and the tertiary one 19. So primary, secondary, tertiary, these are levels of neural processing. Primary area का purpose है बस इतना समझना कि there is some object, just the perception of the object is the function of a primary visual cortex. All other forms of processing, color कैसा है, what is it moving or not, right? All those different aspects, higher processing is happening in the area number 18 and 19. Okay. Now this is one view of the same thing. So here what you appreciate is, you look at the distribution of macula. So macula was one point in the retina, right? But it is occupying a disproportionately large area of the visual cortex. Why should it be like this? If I ask you, कि ऐसा क्यों होना चाहिए? Why macula should have a larger representation in the cortex? Because macula is mainly having cones. Cones are responsible for visual acuity, sharpness of vision. So sharpness of vision के for this to happen, it is not only that there should be some dedicated receptor, और ये भी अच्छी बात है कि कोन्स में कोई कन्वर्जेंस नहीं है, 1:1 करके वो ब्रेन तक पहुँच रहा है. ब्रेन में भी there should be a larger area dedicated to this. Only then this full functionality of precise point-to-point identification of light rays coming from an object can be done. It is similar to the concept of homunculus. Sensory homunculus पे आपने देखा था कि जो area ज़्यादा sensitive है, their representation is more. The areas which are having more receptors, they are having more presentation in the brain. So it is analogous to that. क्योंकि acuity is very important for a day-to-day life. Sharpness of vision. That's why this is occupying a larger area in the visual cortex. That's why evolution has made it like this. Now, what is the presence of higher processing in the visual cortex? तो visual cortex में information पहुंच गया, right? Within the visual cortex, there are some unique features. Like, I'll draw your attention to this color globs which are present. For color processing to happen, there are distinct color processing modules in the neurons of the visual cortex. Layers number 2, 3 and layer number 4A of the visual cortex, they have high concentration of cytochrome oxidase. So color processing or analysis modules called color globs are present here. So this is an additional feature that you need to know about the visual cortex. Visual cortex is also made of, right, processing modules called as hypercolumns. This is one hypercolumn, right, which is the receptive field for one point of the retina. So within one such hypercolumn, we have orientation columns. For each point of the retina, we have neurons in the visual cortex which can detect the alignment of the object. What is the position? Is it straight? Is it oblique? Right? Full 360-degree alignment can be seen. It can be perceived. So this are called as, each of this is called as the orientation columns. Okay. So book mein you will find that there are names called as simple cells and complex cells. These are nothing but the cells which make up this orientation columns. Okay. Now visual cortex के बाद, now there are two sets of information that our brain should know, right? Where and what, right? So visual cortex में processing does not end. So there are two streams that you can see. The magnocellular information from the visual cortex, it goes to the PTO junction. So visual cortex पीछे था, remember. So PTO junction is present here. Parieto-temporo-occipital का जो junction है, right? So this is the area which gives us the sense of position in space. Where are we, right? So this is called as the where stream. Second stream goes to inferior temporal cortex. Temporal lobe का inferior pole, area number 20. This is called as the what stream, and this is information important for recognizing objects, recognizing faces, right? So these are cortico-cortical projections. So if you get visual pathway as a long question, and if you want very good marks, then you should at least mention that there are two additional cortex के बाद, this is what happens finally. This is where it ends, the processing ends. Now to understand the lesions, you have to apply the law of rectilinear propagation of light after you trace the lesion to the retina. Right? So remember these two laws. So we'll talk about the lesions in the next class. Pathway में कहीं पर भी lesion है, you have to trace it back to the retina, right? And from the retina में जिस area पे effect हो रहा है retina, you apply the law of rectilinear propagation of light. अगर आपने देखा कि nasal half of retina is affected by that particular lesion, it is obvious field में temporal half will be affected. So if you apply these two simple laws, you need not memorize this whole picture. Otherwise, you have to memorize, right? जैसे कि पहले example में, if you see lesion number A, there is a transaction here, right? ये पूरा चला गया. Right eye का temporal and nasal retina के fibers दोनों affect हो रहे, right? So I'll trace it back to the retina and I see that both the set of fibers are affected. तो field का भी temporal half and nasal half both are affected. So what we see is this complete blindness of the affected eye. So this is called as anopia. Anopia is a complete affliction of the field of this side. If let us say we talk of the lesion of this number, lesion number B, right? So you trace this fibers, right? What do you find? B fiber is affecting, this lesion B is affecting nasal fibers of both the eyes. You trace it back. तो लेफ्ट आई में nasal field is affected, so you can see left eye का nasal retina is affected, so temporal field will be affected. Look at this picture here. Let me trace this. This is coming from the nasal retina of the right eye, so temporal half is again affected here. This is bitemporal hemianopia, right? You trace this back to the retina. This is the rule. Similarly, if you talk of lesion number C, तो C में what is happening? Right eye का temporal retina is affected. You can see. Left eye में nothing is happening. तो you can see the temporal retina अगर affect हो रहा है तो field में nasal इससे affect होगा. So nasal half of the field of vision here, you see this is affected. Lesion number D, optic tract is affected. तो tract में uncrossed fibers of the same side. तो right eye का temporal half is gone, temporal retina is affected. तो field में nasal हिस्सा जाएगा. You see this one. Also this one, this is the nasal fibers of the left retina. So this fiber is getting information from temporal aspect here. So this is what you see here. Left-sided homonymous hemianopia. तो दोनों fields में left is affected here. Left का भी left हिस्सा, right का भी left हिस्सा. Right? So I'll stop here. But this picture is there in all of your books. So by your own interest, just apply these two laws that I said. You will be able to know the lesions for yourself. Right? Otherwise, what I said is you have to memorize. It's a very complicated thing to memorize. If you understand, it is very simple. Chalo. Thank you.